They woke in the morning with heads that felt too heavy and stomachs that threatened rebellion, but somehow still in good spirits. The absurdity of the previous night had already started turning into a story that gets better with retelling. They brushed straw from their clothes, avoided looking directly at the pigs who seemed judgmental in the morning light, and made their way back to the tavern for breakfast. The red-faced barkeep was already up, moving slowly between tables with the exhaustion of someone who worked late and rose early. He yawned when he saw them, not surprised. "Ah, so it was the pig shed after all." "Yeah," Penny said. "The inn was closed." "Figured as much." He said nothing more about it, just gestured toward an empty table. When the food arrived, pork sausage, black pudding, and 2 fried eggs each, Lymphocytus stared at his plate for a moment before speaking. "Feels a bit strange eating something you shared a night with, doesn't it?" Penny looked at him. "What, did you sleep with chickens too? You could have lent me a few. I nearly froze to death." "I slept surprisingly well," Roland said, cutting into his sausage without hesitation. "That's because you hogged all the hogs," Lymphocytus said. "Must have been warm as a sauna." "Look," Roland replied, grinning slightly, "you don't discuss sleeping arrangements the morning after. It's not gentlemanly." They ate in silence for a while, a comfortable quiet that comes from shared humiliation. Then Penny spoke, her voice more serious. "So, what did we actually learn yesterday?" Roland swallowed the food in his mouth. "That people are scared of what's out there." "Everyone's scared of wilderness," Lymphocytus said. "That's not exactly groundbreaking information." "No, but it's specific," Penny insisted. She'd been turning it over in her head since waking. That old man wasn't sharing rumors. He was stating facts. Different groups in different territories. Like it's organized somehow. "Multiple groups, not working together," Roland added. Lymphocytus nodded slowly. "And whatever's in the mountains. The dog-like thing that merchant mentioned, he wasn't exaggerating. He was genuinely frightened." They looked at their plates, processing, the practical reality settling in alongside the hangover. Roland broke the silence first. He couldn't sit still with uncertainty for too long. "We're not getting jobs handed to us here." "That's for certain," Lymphocytus said. "So we take matters into our own hands. Show what we can do." Roland leaned forward, warming to his own idea. "There's something in those mountains that even the Keep's patrols run from. That's the key. We deal with that, and suddenly people care who we are." Penny frowned. "Or we die stupidly and no one remembers our names." "Could happen either way," Roland shrugged. "At least this way, we choose how it went down. We did it on our terms." "That's not actually reassuring," Lymphocytus said, but his tone had shifted slightly. Less dismissive, more calculating. "We don't know what we're dealing with. We don't have proper equipment. We don't even know the terrain. So we prepare," Roland said. "We get supplies, ask more questions, scout the lower paths first." He paused. "Look, it can't hurt to just see what's out there, can it?" The question hung in the air. Penny studied her companions, Roland's eagerness barely contained, Lymphocytus's careful consideration fighting with his desire to prove himself useful. She recognized the pattern. They were talking themselves into something dangerous because the alternative was admitting they had no better options. "Fine," she said finally, "but we do it properly. Equipment, provisions, rope if we're actually going into mountains. How much coin do we have between us?" They pooled what they had left after paying for breakfast. It wasn't impressive. Enough for basic supplies if they were careful, nothing extravagant. "We'll need climbing gear," Lymphocytus said. If the patrols are turning back, it's probably rough terrain. Food that doesn't spoil, Penny added, and something warmer to wear. It gets cold up high. Roland was already standing, the restless energy finding direction. There's got to be merchants in the courtyard, or a quartermaster who sells surplus.
They left the tavern with a plan that was barely a plan, held together more by necessity than confidence. The keep's courtyard felt different in morning light, less intimidating, more navigable. People moved with purpose, conducting business that didn't involve them. They'd need to change that, somehow, prove they were worth noticing. The mountains loomed beyond the walls, indifferent to their intentions. Whatever was up there that frightened experienced soldiers would find out soon enough if 3 untested strangers were brave or just stupid. Finding the trading post was easy enough. The building was broader than most, doors standing open, goods visible from outside. Inside, it was cool and dry, wood, fabric, salt in the air. Weapons and armor hung in organized rows, rope, bales, crates along the walls. Nothing polished, nothing fancy. Behind the counter stood a thin man in worn clothes who looked up when they entered. His gaze passed over them quickly. Then he waited, said nothing. Roland and Lymphocytus wandered through the merchandise, touching things, examining inventory like they knew what they were looking at. Penny approached the counter. "Morning, how are you?" The man nodded once, didn't speak. The silence threw her off. She'd expected at least the minimum greeting that made transactions smoother. She pushed through anyway. "Right, so we're heading up into the mountains to scout around, and we need provisions, equipment you'd recommend, supplies, climbing gear for 3 people, and maybe some directions." When she finished, he nodded again, already sorted what she'd said apparently. "The mountains are cold," he said, voice dry but awake. "Steep, unforgiving." He placed both hands on the counter and leaned forward slightly. "Rope first." He pointed toward a bundle of thick cords. "Not the ones you're holding, lad. Those." Lymphocytus froze mid-reach, redirected toward the indicated bundle. "Wedges and hammers if you're climbing, not just walking. Proper boots if you lack them. More food than you think. Detours take time up there." His gaze slid over them, paused briefly on their packs and clothes. Penny could feel him calculating something. "Direction isn't something you get here. You get that from people who came back. But equipment, that I have. How long are you planning to be gone?" Roland stepped forward, posture shifting. "We don't know yet, but if you can point us toward someone who came back, maybe they can answer that." The merchant shrugged, nodded toward the door. "The tavern, evening time. Those who've actually been up in the heights don't usually talk for free. Buy them a beer, listen more than you speak. That's how it works here." He placed his hand on the counter again. "Do you want me to gather rope and basic equipment while you ask around, or will you come back when you know more?" "The tavern, you say?" Penny let some frustration show. "We were there yesterday. Lots of talk, but no one who'd seen anything with their own eyes. Can't you give us something? Just enough to stay alive out there? We're not asking for much." Something in her delivery made him pause. His expression didn't soften exactly, but something shifted. "I know what people say." His voice was calmer now, lower. "Gossips. The whole lot when it comes down to it." "Fine. I'll tell you. I don't want you haunting me at night just because I wasn't helpful." He tapped his knuckle lightly on the counter. "There's a path that's no longer used. Not the main route. An older trail up toward the heights. Starts north, away from the lower forests." He looked at Penny directly now. Those who took it last came back not wanting to talk about what they'd seen. Just that they weren't planning to take the same route again. He straightened up.
That's all I say for free. If you still want the equipment, I'll gather it now. Penny glanced at Roland, already knowing the answer. Do you have extra money? No, I'm broke. Lymphocytus stepped forward, careful and formal. Maybe we could make a deal? Information in exchange for a percentage of what we find up there?
The merchant went quiet. Calculating, Penny thought. Weighing whether they'd find anything against whether they'd come back at all. Then he nodded slowly. Percentages are better than fixed prices. I think I've got something for you. He went behind the counter and pulled out something that hadn't been displayed, a rolled parchment with rough markings visible even before he fully unrolled it. Waterways, elevations, what looked like an old trail, and symbols that made Lymphocytus lean forward immediately. This trail, the merchant said, pointing. Old. Used before the patrols drew their new boundaries. Takes you up high without passing through the lower stretches where people disappear. You'll see tracks where no one should be able to go. Large ones. Sometimes solitary, sometimes circling. He rolled the parchment back up, held it away from them, not giving it away yet, just showing. 10% of what can actually be carried. No junk, no blood. And you come back here first, not to the tavern. He met their eyes, one at a time. Deal? Penny extended her hand before either of the others could complicate things. You can count on that, sir. The handshake was brief. She took the parchment and passed it to Lymphocytus. Figure out how much we need. When Lymphocytus unfolded it, his expression shifted. The markings were rough, elevation changes suggested rather than measured, the path visible in places but disappearing into blank parchment elsewhere. He became absorbed by the symbols, which looked almost like runes but not quite. Something familiar enough to recognize but different enough to be unsettling. He searched his memory, came up empty. It's impossible to calculate with this, he said finally. There are no measured distances. The merchant watched them. The mountains decide how long you're gone, not the one who goes there. They argued quietly. No one wanted to starve, but no one wanted to collapse under weight either. The conversation circled. If food ran out, they could hunt, though none of them had much hunting experience. Better to travel light than slow. 3 days should be enough to get up, look around, get back if nothing stopped them. 3 days rations then. Ropes thick enough for load-bearing rather than speed. Wedges and hammers counted and distributed among their packs. They decided against new boots. The expense didn't seem justified. Nothing unnecessary. The merchant gathered what they'd chosen without commentary, packed methodically. Everything weighed, bound, ready to carry. When it all lay on the counter, it didn't look like much, but when Penny lifted her share, she felt the weight immediately. Not crushing, but present in a way that would matter after hours walking uphill. Coins changed hands, no receipts, no well wishes beyond what had already been said. When they stepped back out into the courtyard, the morning was still young and gray. They had what they needed to leave the walls behind, which should have felt like progress, but instead felt like commitment to something they didn't fully understand yet. And then it rose. That feeling some people organized their entire lives to avoid while others searched for deliberately. Adventure, or the promise of it, or maybe just fear disguised as anticipation. Roland looked energized, finally having something concrete to do. Lymphocytus kept glancing at the parchment, clearly bothered by symbols he couldn't identify. And Penny was already calculating exit strategies, the way she always did when committing to something that couldn't be easily walked away from. The gate opened without ceremony. A few nods from guards who'd already seen them pass through once. No one asked where they were going.
They passed the walls, and the road tilted away from stone and order. The keep's sounds thinned out behind them. Ahead, the path began, hard-packed dirt that soon turned to gravel and roots. The forest closed around them slowly. The air got cooler.
Roland broke the silence first, that inability to sit with quiet for too long.
"So, where are you all from, anyway?"
Baldur's Gate, he answered his own question before anyone else could speak. Born there, mostly grew up there. Left when it became clear staying meant inheriting nothing. Lymphocytus adjusted his pack.
"Iron Falls. Larger town, industrial. Yes, you can tell from the name. But they have a decent academy at least. Less entertainment than some places, fewer distractions. Well-stocked library though, so no real hardship. For me at least." "Waterdeep," Penny said quickly. Something in how she said it made Roland glance at her. "Waterdeep? Really?" "Yes, really. You don't sound like Waterdeep." She looked at him. "And what does Waterdeep sound like?" Lymphocytus was watching now too, that careful observation when something didn't fit his mental categories. "It's just the way you handle yourself, the things you notice. It's more country," Roland finished. "You're from the country, aren't you?" Penny's jaw tightened. She didn't slow down. "I lived in Waterdeep." "But you weren't born there." She stopped, just long enough. "Does it matter?" "No, it just explains some things," Roland said, grinning slightly. "What things?" "Just, the way you are." "The way I am?" "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did!" She started walking again, faster now, not looking back. "I'm from a village near Waterdeep. Happy now? A small village where nothing happened and everyone knew everyone, and leaving was the smartest thing I ever did." The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Lymphocytus looked like he wanted to say something diplomatic but couldn't figure out what. Roland looked like he regretted bringing it up, which meant he'd probably bring it up again later, but in a different way. They walked for a while without speaking. The packs settled into familiar weight. Steps found rhythm. The forest thickened around the path, trees standing tall and close together. After a bit, Lymphocytus broke the silence. "Horses would have been useful for this." Not complaining, just testing the idea. "A horse doesn't get 3 people very far," Roland said, voice slightly acidic. "And all the money went to equipment anyway. So now we better make something of this. If we're lucky, maybe we get a reward. Or at least someone buys us a beer." "If we find nothing, we might as well turn around," Penny said. "It's do or die at this point." The landscape had changed while they argued, more raw. The forest floor was uneven, covered in moss and fallen branches that had been there long enough to start rotting. Light filtered through the canopy in broken patches. The air smelled of damp earth and old wood. They left the main path and followed a trampled trail upward. The ground sloped gently at first, then more noticeably. The forest grew denser. Trees stood straighter here, younger, with thicker undergrowth that tore at their legs when they wandered off the trail. Sounds from the keep had disappeared entirely. What they heard now was wind through leaves and distant birds.
It was lunchtime when the path ended. Here the ground leveled out in a narrow band before dropping away again. The forest opened just enough to see down over the terrain behind them, the road they'd taken, water in the distance, the keep now just a dark silhouette against the landscape. Not far, but already separate. A bit ahead, a wooden cross stood driven crooked into the ground. No names, no text, just a rough cut across the beams. The ground around it was trampled but not dug up. They stood thinking at the cross for a moment. "Nice," Penny said quietly. "What's nice about it?"
Roland's voice was sour. That someone took the time to dig a grave. You don't see that often. People I know wouldn't pick up a shovel for anyone. Just leave the body and let animals do the rest. Lymphocytus looked out into the air, distracted, interrupting the mood abruptly. Didn't the merchant say there should be a path around here leading north? He looked toward the sun and indicated the direction northward. But there's just forest, no path. The undergrowth wasn't impenetrable, but disordered enough to hide anything that could be called a path. The ground sloped gently upward. Nothing clearly said road, but nothing said not road either. They spread out, searching for worn stones, broken branches, traces of wheels or hooves. They found nothing consistent. What became clear instead was something else. The forest here wasn't untouched. Branches were broken at waist height, but not fresh. Moss on certain stones was trampled, but irregularly. There were signs of passage, but not much of it. Okay, what the hell is this? Roland kicked a tree trunk. We're supposed to pay 10% of our loot to that old man, and there's no path? We've been conned. I think he told the truth, Penny said. Maybe we just suck at looking. Lymphocytus thought about it, shivered slightly. If the path exists and is hard to find, it's probably not meant for people who don't already know where it is. And that means, Roland asked, that it's not a trade route or a path many people take. Maybe a trail that others take. Monsters, you mean? Penny grabbed her crossbow from her back, held it ready in front of her. If we meet monsters, we just cut them down, Roland said confidently. And you can do magic, Lympho, can't you? Yes, a little, but maybe not enough to kill monsters, mostly practical spells. What did you think you'd use those for in the forest? Roland teased. I didn't think my path of education would be useful in forests. That wasn't the plan at all, Lymphocytus explained. I'm sure you're useful, Lymphocytus, Penny said. A tool can be used for many things. Magic's probably the same. After several hours of walking, the forest had grown dense enough that they sometimes had to press sideways between tree trunks. There was no trail where they walked now, just the hope that they were still moving in roughly the right direction. Progress was uneven. Sometimes the trees opened up and they could move freely. Other times, fallen logs or dense undergrowth or jutting stone forced them to slow down, navigate around obstacles that added time without adding distance. The pace dropped without anyone deciding it should. The ground kept sloping upward, but without clear landmarks to mark their progress. Light faded early under the thick canopy. Evening sun couldn't penetrate the overlapping branches. It was cooler here than open ground. Damp in the air, the smell of pine needles and earth and old leaves. After a while, Penny noticed the forest wasn't just quiet. It was selective about what sounds it allowed. Birds called behind them, rarely ahead. Small noises stopped when they paused, resumed when they moved again. No animals running openly from their presence. Nothing showed itself.
Guys, what is this? Lymphocytus had crouched down, studying an area of ground that looked unusually trampled but without clear tracks. Roland came over. What am I looking at? I can barely see anything. Right, so I didn't want to say this because I didn't want to seem like a difficult woman, Penny said, but we've been walking for a very long time. Oh, thank God, Roland laughed. I've just been trudging along because you were. I wanted to stop hours ago. Why didn't you say something then? Is it chivalry, Sir Roland, or just that you can't handle doing less than a girl? Penny's tone was teasing, but had an edge. Both, maybe. But I was genuinely impressed. Less impressed with Lympho. You elves probably treat forest trekking like humans treat horseback riding. Oh, racism. Charming,
Penny said. I didn't mean it like that, Roland protested. You know that, right, Lympho? Anyway, what did you find? Lymphocytus had remained crouched, inspecting what he'd discovered, not paying much attention to their bickering. He looked up now. Tracks, but I don't know from what. Multiple directions, crossing movements. Like, many things passed through here, but none followed the same path. Meaning? Roland asked. That we haven't seen any life in the forest for several hours. Until now. That's great! So we're on the right track. Roland sounded pleased with himself. Yes, but it means we need to be on guard, Penny explained. And like I said, I need to sit down for a bit, take off my boots, eat something so I can actually be alert. Right, of course. We'll make camp, Roland said. Here? You want to sleep right where something's been moving around? You might not wake up again, Lymphocytus pointed out. Oh, didn't think about that, Roland said, looking embarrassed.